It was real late, probably 2 o'clock Friday night, Saturday morning, September '98. We got a call that somebody had seen, they said it looked like a body or something strange in the parking lot over at Taco Bell. When we arrived, right around in this area here, there was a woman laying in the middle of the road here, and she was shot in the eye, almost at point blank range. So the person watched her eyes go dark.
The tight-knit fabric of a small town can be torn apart when a violent crime happens. I grew up in a small town, and when my husband and I decided to have kids, we decided we wanted to raise them in a small town. We like knowing our neighbors. We know all the families that our kids go to school with. There's just a connection that we really had difficulty finding in a big city. But in every small town that I've lived in, there's a flip side to the coin. When a violent crime happens, you know all the players involved. You know the victim. You know the law enforcement, the judge, the prosecutor, and chances are you know the killer as well. And that's where it gets incredibly complicated. I remember the first murder that took place in my childhood. It was a local high school boy, and he was stabbed at the gas station right down the street from my house. And it shook me up. It changed the town. And I definitely think it planted a seed to keep looking at stories like this, because you want justice to exist in these small, beautiful spaces, right? And so it's important that we shine a light on these stories so that they get the attention that they deserve. I have been down in Georgia for months now, because my husband works down here. It's been fun driving through all these little small towns and really get a sense of like the history of the area. And the small town we're in today is Adel, Georgia. They've got delicious pizza, according to the sign.
This is like the country. Everybody know everybody. Everybody's related in this town.
You know, you wave, everybody waves.
I came out here for a family reunion, and I fell in love with the slow pace. 5,000 people in the town, every morning like a Sunday morning.
Pretty much a lot of Southern hospitality. It's a nice place to live.
Adel is small. Population, about 5,000. Sweet, it's all American. But 20 years ago, this place was really rocked by a series of super brutal murders. There were 4 of them in like a 2-year time span. And for a town this size, that's nuts. That's a horror show. Now add to that, there is still a dark cloud hanging over the convictions. So the town has never had a chance to recover.
You can smell it and see it and hear the surroundings. All of your 5 senses are super heightened at the time that you're at a crime scene. It was pretty immediate after we arrived on the scene that they knew that it was Donna. Donna Brown, the night manager at Taco Bell. When I found out who that it was, it kind of hit me a little bit in the chest because I had known Donna. She was interested in people and so nice to everybody. We're driving through there and Donna going, "Hey, how you doing?" and coming around the counter and, "How's your day going?" She was a single mom. She could get her kid to school, and when it would be nighttime, she would have to go to work. It's hard to think that somebody would take away somebody that's so nice to everybody. It's just tough to believe. That evening, she had to stay late because they were having glitches in the computer system. And so instead of all the employees leaving at once and walking out with each other to the cars, she let the employees go home. Businesses that would close later at night, they would call, ask police officers to come and escort them to the bank, make sure they dropped off the deposit without any problem. That night we didn't get a call at the Taco Bell, so I guess she was tired and just gonna try to take it herself and go on to the bank. So she would have locked up here for the night and walked this way across to her car, carrying the bag, and coming across this way, right around in this area here, was where she was confronted, and now she's trapped between a locked door and no way to get to her car. From the shot and the stippling on the face, she was shot almost at point blank range. Somebody holding a gun that close to somebody, it's an execution. Murder is not a strong enough word for it. This grass, it was very matted down, and you could see where that somebody had been there laying in wait for quite some time for her to leave. The money was taken. The suspect got in her car and left. So when we arrived and found the body, we immediately called the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
In these small towns, they don't have the infrastructure or the resources to deal with serious, violent crime because it doesn't happen often enough. So it makes sense that they would call in the big dogs, the big state law enforcement agencies.
And they started asking us, trying to find the car. We knew it was a Monte Carlo, dark colored. We had to find it fast. There's no telling if they're gonna kill one, they might kill two or three. And I-75 is literally 2/10 of a mile away. And you jump on that either way, you can be in Florida in a matter of minutes, in Atlanta in a matter of a few hours. We're kind of thinking that that was probably gonna be a hard thing to find was her car. But then 2 blocks away, at the Pizza Hut parking lot, one of the officers just happened to drive through here. The parking lot was never lit. This would be a perfect place to dump a car if you were gonna dump it. Alerted the GBI that we had a second crime scene. With the car being parked here, I was pretty sure that it was somebody local. I was sure that if it was somebody local, we were gonna be able to catch them.
This is cute. It's got a flower festival, which is a very southern deal. So here's the main strip. This is a cute, bustling downtown. These mom and pop shops are family-owned businesses. People still value the local community. This is a small, tight-knit community. So when Donna Brown, the night manager of the Taco Bell, was murdered, it really changed things.
People were scared because it kind of looks into, the heart of the town when you have something like that happen. So many people knew Donna Brown from going to Taco Bell. It wasn't something that they let go easily.
Scary. We're just kids, and it's like right in our back door.
It actually set the whole region on fire. That incident did change how the town and the surrounding towns feel about the security. It did change my life.
We are headed to go meet with a law professor at Georgia State University, Jess Sino, and she has just immersed herself with all of the murder cases in Adel. you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I really appreciate your time. So this is a brutal murder in a small town. What are the first steps that the investigators take?
All through the night, the GBI is processing the crime scene. And Adel police are the first line in introducing and bringing GBI agents in to talk to witnesses. So the next day, that is sort of okay, we need to question pretty much anybody who's on our radar. And Adel is small, so it's not a huge canvas that they have to do. But Devanya Inman, a 20-year-old kid, he was on the police radar early. He had minor in possession, he made threats to his girlfriend, and he allegedly had a gun, which he brandished to a man named Zachary Payne and threatened to rob him or take his marijuana. So they pick him up for the Zachary Payne incident.
They pick him up on a totally different
Totally different charge.
But the GBI starts asking him about the Donna Brown case.
I was at home in California. My sister called me and told me that they had arrested Vanya. I couldn't believe it. My name is Dinah Ray, and I'm Devanya Inman's mom. I was born and raised here in Adel. I was 16 years old. I gave birth to Devanya on the couch at my parents' house. Devanya was about 6 months when I left Adel, and we ended up in California with Devanya's father. But it didn't work out, so we divorced. And I met and married my new husband, David Ray. He was a great father since day one. But Devanya, as a teenager, he was getting in trouble for choosing wrong friends. I finally decided to bring Devanya back to Adel. My dad was pretty strict, one of those, you gotta go to church 7 days a week. So I thought that would be good for Devanya, the country life. Devanya wasn't happy about that. When I was leaving him, he was in behind the car and he was saying to me, "Mom, don't leave me." All I could do is asking myself, did I make the right choice or not?
When the GBI questions Devanya about Donna Brown's murder, what is his response to that? What is his excuse, his alibi?
His statement is he was up late playing video games with his girlfriend at her apartment, and the girlfriend's statement supports that.
Okay.
Christy Swain Thomas, Devanya's girlfriend at the time, said on that night, Vanya came over at about 9 o'clock. Vanya was there all night to the next day until 9:30. On the other hand, you've got Marquetta Thomas, who is sister roommate to Christy, and she tells the police something else.
My name is Jacob Steinberg. I'm with the GBI.
Marquetta Thomas.
I was going by Marquetta back then. Since then, I have transitioned from female to male. I now go by Q. Back in around 1998, me and my sisters were very, very close, and we had our own 3-bedroom. And my baby sister, my younger sister, Christian, we called her Christy. She met Devanya at the car wash. The car wash was like the hangout, because Adel was so small. There were not like any clubs or party sections, so for most of the blacks, we went and hung out. It was a big deal. Y'all going to the car wash tonight? The latest cars or rims or paint jobs or loudest music system. Sit on the hood and females walk by with their little booty shorts on and get hollered and yelled and whistled at. So my sister, Christy, she loved going to the car wash. Devanya kind of stood out because I had never seen him around at Adel. Like I said, Adel is so small. He was attractive, and he was something different. He came from California. He just became like a regular figure around the house after that.
My name is Takesha Pickett Johnson, and Devanya is my first cousin. Well, he was the new guy in town, but Devanya had a very smart mouth. Just speaking out and talking back to the police. I ain't gotta do this, I ain't gotta do that. He gave them reasons to think he was so bad and so tough that they kind of like, oh, we're gonna get this little guy. He think he's the because he's from California.
He was a jerk. I really didn't like him, but it seemed to make her happy. Christy had smaller babies at the time, so he actually helped her with the 2 little boys that she had at the time. So he was a good caretaker, I would say, as far as the baby. But he definitely was verbally and physically abusive.
Has there been any types of violence between Vanya and your sister?
Yeah, laughing at her, and jacking her up, and pushing her around.
Tell us about Friday night.
Friday night, met up with my sister, Christy, and Vanya, and me.
How did Marquetta's story conflict with Devanya and his girlfriend's story?
Marquetta places Devanya at Christie's apartment.
Okay.
But then says he left at a time where he could have committed the crime.
Huh.
Said he was going to the store. That was all I seen of him that night, Saturday morning around 11 a.m.
When the police came to talk to me, I told them that he wasn't there.
All this time while I was on the couch, my sister was telling me that he was back in the bedroom.
Is she telling the story when she tells that?
Yeah, she's telling the story.
I also told them that the next day he showed up at our house with a pocket full of money, and the money had blood on it.
Marquetta Thomas, she happened to know a good deal about it. And that was pretty much when the teeth of the GBI came out and they started getting into the heavy part of the case.
What happens next?
A witness named Virginia Tatum surfaces. She tells the police that on the night of Donna Brown's murder, she saw Devanya whipping around a corner at a high rate of speed, driving Donna Brown's car.
We were kind of knocking the bushes and trying to find out who might know what. It was probably a week later, we get a call from one of the newspaper delivery people. Normally late at night, they would be outside. While they would be dividing up the paper, the witness said she saw Devanya Inman inside of the car that belonged to Donna Brown.
The newspaper carrier says she saw him in the car.
Yes. So now you have a witness who can put Devanya in the victim's car, moving from crime scene A to crime scene B.
So that witness testimony comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
What else does the state have against him?
Then you've got Larisha Chapman, who is one of the employees at Taco Bell who was working that night with Donna Brown. And Larisha says, when I was leaving, I saw somebody in the bushes and I heard a voice, and it was that Devanya Inman guy. She said she distinctly remembered his voice. Now you've got a witness who places him at the crime scene.
That's not looking good for Devanya.
Nope.
So Devanya is sitting in prison. He hasn't been indicted yet. They're just keeping him on the warrant.
They're just keeping him on the other warrant for the Zachary Payne incident. While the investigators start really building this case against Devanya, but you don't have Devanya's confession. He has time and time again, despite relentless interrogation, denied everything.
I don't think that a investigation ever really stops into a murder because there's always going to be questions. The biggest question is he doesn't answer why. It was extremely brutal. Why would you do this? Why didn't you just steal the money? Is there that much hate in this person's heart that they've got to kill somebody for basically $1,200 or so?
What is the aha piece of evidence that just locks it in that it's got to be him.
December of 1998, 2-ish months after the Donna Brown murder, Devanya gets moved to Valdosta State Prison. All of a sudden, we have a new witness, and his name is Kwame Spalding. Kwame is an inmate with Devanya at Valdosta State Prison. And Kwame has a story to tell. Devanya has confessed the entire crime to him. Start to finish, Devanya admits that he committed the Taco Bell crime. So now you have Marquetta showing Devanya has his hands on the money from the Taco Bell. You've got Larisha puts Devanya at the Taco Bell. Virginia puts Devanya in Donna Brown's car. And Kwame Spalding, who has the jailhouse confession. That's an airtight case from the prosecution's perspective.
That's the confession they've been waiting for.
Yes. He had a very organized, this is how the crime occurred narrative, and I got all this information from Devanya himself. January of '99, we get an indictment for the murder of Donna Brown.
And then in April of 2000, when Inman was still in jail waiting trial, we had another murder. Around noon was when the call came out. There was a store that was down here that was owned by the Patels. Evidently left the brother or the uncle running the store while they went on a trip. So they had called on a welfare check because he didn't show up for work the next day. So when the officers first arrived, nobody came to the door. He was looking inside and could see blood everywhere. It was a pretty horrific crime scene. You know, the adrenaline starts pumping, your mind starts racing on what's going on, because a murder, that was just really rare. With Donna's still fresh on everybody's mind, and then now you've got another murder that's happened, now the community's looking like it's a crime spree.
Devanya is behind bars, but the murders don't stop.
They don't.
The second murder was Salish Patel. He was running a store. On this night, Salish decided he would leave with the money bag and walk back to the house. Somebody followed him and got inside of the house with him. Once inside the house, a fight ensued. Ended up with them taking a large television set and smashing it over his head.
The GBI, to this day, have it posted on their website as unsolved.
They have not.
They've never solved it. And then, 7 months later, there's another robbery homicide, a double homicide.
We had some railway workers call in and said, hey, something terrible's happened over here at Bennett Grocery. Need everybody quick.
3 railroad workers interrupted robbery in progress at Bennett's Cash and Carry, right by the railroad tracks.
When the first responding officers arrived, they found, I believe, Mr. Bennett first. And then later on, they found Rebecca Browning, who was working for him. They found her in another section of the store. They were beaten to death. They were beaten to death. You just won't find very many crime scenes that are that brutal and that senseless. And they're making it into a church now, which is just a beautiful thing. Where somebody lost their life, now there brings new life to people. Knowing Mr. Bennett's Christianity is, I'll tell you, he's smiling right now. He's smiling down.
Well, when I heard that Mr. Bennett was beat to death with a baseball bat, was just like so hurtful. I mean, I cried like this man was some kin to me or something, like he was my family. And it was just like, wow, why would somebody do that? And it's like all you had to do was ask him, he would have gave you the money. It was just hard for everybody.
Having 2 homicides in a year is just unheard of in this town, but having 3, that really blew everybody away in the community.
But this time, they're quickly able to get the suspects. One of the railroad workers saw the getaway car. Police locate the car. And in that car, there's a man. His name is Hercules Brown. Police immediately arrest Hercules Brown for the Bennett Browning murders.
So what do they have on Hercules Brown to charge him with these murders, besides those 3 eyewitnesses?
He has blood on his shoes.
I had known Hercules since he was a juvenile. He was constantly in trouble. He evidently had a very bad snap temper, that he could go from 0 to 100 in a snap of a hat.
Four murders now that have happened. Are there more murders after he's arrested?
So the murders stop after Hercules has been arrested.
Whenever they found out that Hercules Brown was the one who killed Mr. Bennett and his sister-in-law, everybody started saying Hercules is the same person who killed Donna Brown. We never had a robber before now. Devon's in jail and people are still getting robbed. And now 2 people dead and he's in jail. So who you think did that?
Was there any link between Hercules and Donna Brown?
He, at the time of Donna Brown's murder, worked at the Taco Bell.
I had just quit working there in 1998. Donna Brown is the one who replaced me. As soon as I heard that this lady was murdered at Taco Bell and Taco Bell was robbed, I automatically started thinking of one person and one person only. It was Hercules Brown. Because me and him worked together, and he brought this proposition to me that I let him rob me and then we split the money. And I was like, no, heck no. And I never thought in a million years that he would actually do it. But after this robbery at Taco Bell, I talked to one of the GBI agents of Georgia. I told them that Hercules Brown came to me with this proposition, and as they got the wrong guy, and they had my cousin already locked up for this, basically he took my statement and pretty much they left it at that.
Who else comes forward and basically tells the GBI, like, you're wrong?
The defense at the time had a couple of witnesses it wanted to present. One who says, I worked with Hercules. Hercules talked about doing an inside job at the Taco Bell. And the other one being Thomas Dwayne Edwards. They were friends who said, Hercules had told him that he had committed the crime. And so the defense presents that, and that gets affirmatively shut down.
Why?
The judge concluded that the alternate suspect theory, they didn't have enough to move forward with it. So any evidence about Hercules being the actual perpetrator of the crime is kept out of the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as the defense is getting ready for trial, do all of the witnesses maintain their stories?
No, it's a free-for-all. Facts start to come out of the woodwork.
I think that my initial statement and testimony is what got Devanya arrested in the first place. I initially told the police and the GBI agents that Devanya was not with us that night. At that point, I literally hated this man's guts. So I was just willing to say or do whatever to get him out the picture. There's no way that Devanya could have been at Taco Bell that night because he was there with us. And so I totally just lied on him. Just basically, I lied on Devanya.
From the prosecution's perspective,
They had an airtight case against Devanya. They had someone placing him at the scene of the crime. They had the jailhouse confession. They had all their little boxes neatly aligned. And then things started to shift.
I lied on him because I felt like I was protecting my sister. I think the police, they had no idea who did this crime. I don't think they had any leads or suspects or evidence. So I think they were very hungry and desperate to pin it on someone. It was 2 or 3 big 6-foot-tall white guys with suits. They would come to my house at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It was very intimidating. I was young, I was a teenager. I thought, I gotta tell them what they wanna know or they're not gonna leave me alone. So I'm thinking the first black hood Negro they can pin it on, that's what they wanted, and that's what I gave them. And I did not know the severity of what I was saying, how it would affect him and how it would take his life or take his freedom until I became incarcerated myself. When I was snatched away from my kids, my heart and conscience was like, no, this is not right, I can't do this, and I did everything in my power to recant my testimony, but they wouldn't listen, it was too late. They had a person, and that was it, sealed the deal.
So Marquetta takes back that first statement. This was the foundation, the bedrock of the prosecution's case, and she just now drove a bulldozer through it. The prosecution's case is eroding. You have, for example, Larisha Chapman, one of the employees at Taco Bell, who says, I saw somebody in the bushes and I heard Devanya's voice. But months later, she writes a letter, as she says, to clear up a huge lie. I don't even know what his voice sounds like. I didn't see anyone in the bushes either. I was so tired of the whole ordeal. I told those gentlemen only what they wanted to hear. They kept pressuring me. They, being the police, threatened to take away my kids.
Really?
Yeah.
How old was she at the time?
Oh, she was a teenager. She was 18.
What about the newspaper carrier who says that she saw Devanya in Donna Brown's car? Does anyone else back that up, or?
No, in fact, she has another guy there with her, and his name is Lee Grimes.
Okay.
Lee Grimes has been consistent the whole time, never happened. There was not any point in that evening where what Virginia said occurred, which is Donna Brown's car whipping around the corner. And Lee Grimes pretty much says Virginia Tatum's lying, that she made it up, and he says to get the reward money. But the prosecution keeps moving forward.
What else does the state have against him? Is there any forensic evidence?
0. But they still had their 2 stars. They had Virginia Tatum, and then you've got, Kwame Spalding, the jailhouse snitch. And that's what the prosecution goes with.
No physical evidence, just that. The questions surrounding Devanya's guilt are nagging. I'm meeting with Dinah and Dave Ray, Devanya Inman's parents. Dinah and Dave are being gracious enough to sit down with us and tell us about their son. Hi, I'm Hillary. It's so nice to meet you. Hi, really nice to meet you.
Come on in.
Did they give you any idea what the evidence they had against your son was?
There was no evidence. And that's why to this day, I don't understand. There was no evidence. Everybody knew he didn't do it.
The small town was talking, and they were trying to tell the authorities who did it, but the authorities wasn't listening.
This whole trial was just like something off of TV. They had us in a room so that we couldn't sit in the courtroom to show support, for my son. I just didn't get that.
You weren't allowed to sit in the trial at all?
At all.
They told us that because we were witness, that we couldn't sit in there.
Rather than showing him with his family, he seems like a loner.
Yeah, exactly.
The prosecution was really effective, portraying Devanya as a thug who is an outsider, who is coming into Adel to cause trouble, and the jury needed to do something about it. That it was their duty to protect their town.
That district attorney said to the jury, and I'll never forget, the decision that you make today is gonna affect you and this town the rest of your life. I couldn't believe it. Waiting to hear the verdict was nerve-wracking. That's the only time that we were allowed in the courtroom. The verdict came back guilty.
Were you able to see your son or communicate with him?
See him, but they wouldn't let me touch him. They wouldn't let me hug him.
My own son turned around and told me, "Dad, stop crying." And I said, "I can't stop crying." And I've been crying ever since. I told my wife, I said, "I'm still a man, but I love my son. I'm still a man. I can cry. It's all right. I can cry."
You know, it's the hardest thing I ever had to hear. I felt like I'm never gonna see my son again.
When the verdict was announced, the town was really happy, glad that somebody was convicted of the murder of Donna Brown.
Well, I was really young when it did happen. It caught the wrong person at first, I feel like.
Everybody knows everybody. It's good, but then it could be bad in certain situations. Things that other people say is not always true.
Do we want the right person prosecuted? Of course we do, 100%.
And all I can tell you is there's just about as many people that said that he is not guilty as guilty. And when that 50-50 break, man, that hurts a lot of people.
Devanya Inman's case first came to the Georgia Innocence Project when he wrote a letter after he was convicted at trial. Devanya has always said, "I did not commit this crime, I am innocent, I need help to right this wrong." Before the Georgia Innocence Project would step in, we have a screening process for our cases. One is that there has to be DNA evidence involved in the case that has not yet been tested that can point us to who perpetrated the crime. We literally go and knock on the door and say, "We'd like to see what evidence still exists in this case."
Okay, so this is Donna Brown's car?
Yes. When the police return the car to the family calls them back and says, "There's a ski mask in the car that's clearly not hers. Is it evidence?"
It's literally on the passenger seat. It couldn't be more apparent.
Obvious. This is what ultimately gets recovered when they say, "Hey, you need to come and get this." It's this makeshift ski mask, which is really the bottom portion of sweatpants with 2 eye holes in it. Doesn't get tested. It's kind of forgotten about.
That seems like the most vital piece of evidence. So who sends it off to get tested?
So the Innocence Project sends the mask off to get tested, and the GBI agrees to run it through their offender database.
Okay.
Final answer. It doesn't come back to Devanya. The DNA on the inside of the mask, which means it's the DNA from the person who wore it and then left it in Donna Brown's car, is Hercules Brown.
How did you get the news about the DNA?
I remember she got the test back and called us at work. And I went out so that we could sit in the car. And she told us that she had gotten the DNA back and it was Hercules Brown DNA on the mask. And we just sat in the car. We just sat in the car and cried. And we thought, okay, my son's gonna be coming home. Maybe there is light.
The Innocence Project took those results, drafted an emergency motion for new trial, and Judge McConnell, the original trial judge, hears all of this new evidence that includes the DNA results from the mask. But also, this new evidence includes Kwame Spalding saying that he made up the jailhouse confession. After the trial, Kwame admitted that Devanya never confessed to him. They didn't even, interact all that much in the prison. He said he was pressured by law enforcement to put together this statement.
Once we get good evidence and they get a good trial, I'm all for locking them up forever. But we've got to, as law enforcement, get it right. And we just can't go off words and what people are saying and stuff like that. I mean, every day I see that somebody's getting out that, 50 years ago they went in and now they've got new evidence. This DNA stuff, just let them go.
Our goal at that point was to present that evidence to the court and let the court know we meet the legal requirements to get a new trial. We all kind of came out of that hearing feeling optimistic and hopeful that we were actually going to get justice for Devanya. That didn't happen. The court denied our motion for new trial. The court found that the mask wasn't that important. The district attorney made the argument that this DNA from Hercules Brown on the mask does not show us that Devanya Inman didn't commit this crime. At best, it shows us that Hercules Brown also might have been involved in the crime. The state has been saying all along, Devanya Inman did this himself. They basically changed their entire theory of the case in order to fit the mask evidence.
We thought that this is gonna be the hearing where he comes home and...
Everybody thought he was coming home.
I'm still confused.
I see people come home every day on the news for DNA evidence. You know what I'm saying? Why ain't coming home? I don't get that. Every time I see somebody come home, I'm happy for them to come home. But I'm saying, why ain't coming home? It don't make no sense.
This case is very much not forgotten. I'm really, really sad for a lot of the people in this story. So many families were destroyed by this. Donna Brown's family was destroyed by this. Salish Patel's murder is still unsolved. William Carroll Bennett and Rebecca Browning, their families were destroyed by this. But Devanya Inman, he's still sitting there in a prison.
They took my son away from me. This is where Devanya was born, in this house, on the couch.
Who helped you?
Nobody.
Oh, no.
It just came out, I guess. They took my son away from his child. This is Devanya's son.
Thank you guys for letting me come by.
Away from his siblings. We were a family too. And I feel like our lives is on hold. And my son is a forgiving person. He said to me, Mom, you have to forgive these people. He said, that's why I'm still in here. You haven't forgiven these people. And I haven't. But I'm working on it.
Small town grudges and rumors, biases, police tunnel vision, that's what helped put Devanya in prison. So nothing's gonna change for him unless all the evidence is heard in a court of law.